He possessed everything: power, affluence, a meticulously crafted agenda. But on a day steeped in appearances, he witnessed the caregiver embrace his daughter in the midst of a crisis, and the salon's silence shattered. Who did she think she was? Or rather, who had he been until now? When a simple gesture confronts a world of vanity, a father must choose between the perfect public image and what truly matters. Ready to witness the moment that turns a family inside out? Alexander Alex Sterling's office occupied the 23rd floor of a mirrored skyscraper on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. From that vantage, the traffic below resembled a silent anthill, yellow buses inching between silver cars. The entire city unfolded outside his window, yet Alex perceived none of it. His gaze traversed spreadsheets where figures multiplied, escalated, corroborating that Sterling Logistics Solutions operated as a well-oiled machine. Lucid objectives, impeccable reports, dispassionate decisions. This was his preference: predictable, controllable, secure. In his private life, however, a fracture persisted, one that even the most meticulous reports could not mend. Luna, his 8-year-old daughter, was the epicenter of this unease. Alex loved her, this he knew, but that love was shrouded in layers of fear and inadequacy. His daughter Luna had Down syndrome, and each day with her presented a succession of unforeseen circumstances that challenged the control he so valued. The therapeutic routines, the constant adaptations, the crises when noises or scents invaded her senses unannounced. All of this Alex delegated to others: therapists who visited twice weekly, nannies who rotated in precise shifts, and primarily to Victoria, his fiancée, who relished the visibility of being the future wife of one of the city's wealthiest men. Victoria occupied prominent spaces. Her fitted gowns and practiced smiles graced the pages of society magazines. At charity galas, where she posed with a champagne flute in hand, her gaze distant, calculating her next maneuver. She harbored no patience for Luna. She viewed the girl as a detail to be managed, kept out of sight when convenient. Alex perceived this, yet he did not confront it. It was simpler to sign checks, to employ more staff, to believe that maintaining everything organized and well compensated was sufficient. It was not. Their residence, a 3-story mansion in Lincoln Park, presented itself as an office disguised as a home. White corridors, Scandinavian-designed furnishings, a calculated silence. Luna circulated there like an interloper in her own space, always accompanied by someone who guided her from one environment to another according to her schedule. Alex sometimes heard her laughter, a high-pitched sound that pierced walls, but he rarely descended from the library where he worked late. When he did, he would find his daughter already asleep, her face pressed into the pillow, her fingers still clutching her blanket. The long-serving housekeeper, Maria Sanchez, resigned one October morning. She needed to care for her mother, who had suffered a stroke in rural Illinois. Alex Sterling accepted without hesitation, already contemplating a replacement. Victoria, however, was more particular. She desired someone discreet and practical, words she emphasized while engrossed in her phone, oblivious to the cooling coffee on the kitchen table. Thus, Elena Ramirez entered the household. 27 years old, recommended by a neighbor, her resume was straightforward yet competently composed. She hailed from Rockford, Illinois, supported her grandmother in a rented apartment in Little Village, Chicago, and had completed high school at night while working during the day. On paper, what most arrested attention was her experience as a volunteer at the Hope and Thrive Community Center in Logan Square. Alex Sterling read this with pragmatic interest, someone acquainted with routines who would not be unnerved by Luna's specific needs. Victoria barely noticed. She merely assented and declared she wanted the new employee to begin by the end of the week. Elena arrived on a Thursday morning, carrying a worn backpack and a small notebook. Her dark hair was pulled back in a bun, her skin was light brown, and her dark eyes observed everything with respectful attentiveness. Alex received her in the living room, outlining the basic duties: maintaining the house, accompanying Luna in her daily routines, and adhering to the therapist's prescribed schedule. Victoria descended, only to underscore one particular point. "Avoid scenes in the presence of guests," she stated aridly before retreating to her room. Elena simply nodded. She asked no questions. She tucked her notebook into her backpack and requested to meet Luna. The girl was in the playroom, constructing towers with colorful blocks. She did not look up when Elena entered. She continued stacking, toppling, stacking again, her movements precise and repetitive. Elena sat on the floor beside her, silently. She remained there for 10 minutes, merely observing. Then she extended her hand and offered a yellow block. Luna took it, smelled it, and placed it atop the tower. There were no smiles or words, yet there was connection. It was a commencement. In the subsequent days, Elena discerned patterns. Luna regulated herself more effectively with clear movement routines preceding social engagements. Walks in the garden, small bounces on the trampoline situated in the service area's corner, and breathing exercises taught by the therapist. And when something overwhelmed her, when sounds became too loud or lights too intense, she required physical containment. A firm, deliberate embrace that aided her in sensing the boundaries of her own body. It was no miraculous artifice. It was technique, patience, and knowledge accrued from hours of working with other children at the Hope and Thrive Community Center. Elena took note. She had observed Luna's increased irritability since the preceding week. The therapist confirmed several sessions had been canceled. The reason was not elaborated upon, merely that the schedule was under review. Elena did not press the matter, but stored the information, recognizing its significance. She understood that children like Luna often regressed when their established routines were disrupted. This reality was intimately familiar to her. Her younger brother, Matteo, also lived with Down syndrome. When their family had faced financial hardship, they were compelled to discontinue his therapy sessions. Matteo had subsequently lost progress that had taken months to achieve. This experience had profoundly marked Elena. She resolved that, as long as she possessed the means, she would not permit another child to endure the same setback. The initial trial would materialize swiftly. Alex was hosting an investor brunch at his residence the following Sunday. His intention was to present the company's expansion to Southern investors from the agribusiness sector, individuals distinguished by inherited wealth and a discernible drawl. For Victoria, it represented an opportunity to solidify her image as an impeccable hostess. She was already practicing poses before her bedroom mirror, adjusting the neckline of her white dress, envisioning the photographs destined for publication in the prominent Chicago Society pages. Sunday dawned bright in Chicago, the sky a washed blue expanse after days of rain. Elena arrived early. She assisted the event company's staff in arranging the tables in the garden and conscientiously ensured there was a quiet space available should Luna require it. She located Alex's study on the second floor, its door ajar, the air conditioning providing a cool hum. This would serve as their sanctuary. Luna awakened agitated. She struggled with her breakfast, pushing away her fruit plate, and whimpered when Elena attempted to comb her hair. The girl possessed an innate sensitivity to impending changes, which invariably heightened her tension. Elena did not exert force. She guided Luna through breathing exercises. They walked the garden paths before the guests' arrival, and she kept Luna close, speaking in hushed tones, preparing her for the impending cacophony. The first guests began to arrive at midday. Men in light suits, women in vibrantly patterned dresses, their loud laughter piercing the air. The mingled scent of expensive perfumes and fresh flowers permeated the house. Luna remained in the living room with Elena, engrossed in playing with modeling clay. Initially, she appeared composed. Alex passed through occasionally, verifying that every detail proceeded according to his meticulous plan. Victoria glided through the garden, greeting each guest with air kisses, guiding them toward the tables, where waiters offered sparkling wine and orange juice. Then the music escalated. Someone requested a change in the playlist to something more spirited, and the vibrant, upbeat rhythms filled the environment. Luna lifted her head, her eyes wide with apprehension. Her hands ceased their kneading of the modeling clay. Elena perceived the shift immediately. The girl's body became rigid, her breathing quickened. It marked the onset of a crisis. Elena acted swiftly. She knelt beside Luna, positioned herself so the girl could see her, and spoke softly, in simple words. "It's all right. I'm here. Let's breathe together." Luna began to cry, thick tears streaming down her face, her shrill wail drawing attention. Victoria, who had been conversing with an investor near the main table, turned her head. Her countenance shifted. The expression of a cordial hostess vanished. Replaced by poorly concealed irritation, she traversed the garden with swift strides, her heels sinking into the grass, and entered the living room. "What is happening here?" she inquired, her voice low yet sharp. She awaited no reply. Approaching Luna, with an abrupt gesture, she attempted to pull the girl by the hand. "You need to behave. Now." The gesture worsened matters. Luna began to scream, her entire body trembling. Several guests appeared at the doorway, observing the scene with expressions between curiosity and discomfort. It was then that Elena made the decision that would alter everything. She sought no permission. She simply enveloped Luna in a firm, controlled embrace, her arms holding the girl so she felt constant pressure, physical security. She maintained this posture, disregarding Victoria's protests nearby, ignoring the guests' gazes. She spoke softly into Luna's ear, breathed alongside her, and waited. It took 3 minutes, perhaps 4, but the weeping subsided. Her accelerated breathing began to regulate. Luna rested her head on Elena's shoulder and sobbed quietly, already calmer. Elena requested one of the waiters to lower the music's volume. Afterward, with Luna still in her arms, she walked to the office on the second floor, closed the door, and switched on only a corner lamp. She placed the girl on the leather sofa, covered her with a blanket she had brought in her bag, and offered her favorite toy, a faded teddy bear. Luna took the teddy bear, hugged it against her chest, and closed her eyes. When Elena descended, she found Victoria standing in the middle of the room, arms crossed, her face flushed. "Who do you think you are?" she uttered, her voice trembling with rage. "This is not a daycare. That excessive embrace was utterly inappropriate in front of my guests." Elena did not respond immediately. She breathed deeply, maintaining a resolute gaze. "I did what needed to be done to help Luna." "You overstepped your bounds." Victoria took a step forward. "If I were you, I would keep your opinions to yourself. Employees do not issue directives here." Alex, who had been observing from a distance, finally approached. He had witnessed part of the scene through the glass door. He felt torn between the public embarrassment and his daughter's undeniable improvement. His immediate instinct, honed by years of image control, was to safeguard the event. "Elena, thank you for your assistance," he stated, his voice formal. "But please, withdraw with Luna. I will join you upstairs shortly." Elena nodded and returned to the office. Alex rejoined the garden gathering, resuming conversations with the investors, feigning an air of normalcy. Yet, something had stirred within him. The image of Elena embracing Luna, The profound calm that had settled upon his daughter lingered in his mind. The brunch concluded in the mid-afternoon. Guests departed seemingly satisfied. The business prospects appeared promising. But a sense of unease, an unresolved tension, pervaded the house. Victoria retreated to her room. Alex, instead of ascending to address the situation, withdrew to his first-floor study, where he maintained the security equipment. He decided to review the internal cameras. The house possessed a comprehensive system, installed years prior for security purposes. The footage displayed all common areas. Alex scrolled his finger across the tablet screen, returning to the time of the incident. And he saw it. The recording revealed everything with brutal clarity. Victoria approaching Luna with evident impatience, pulling the girl's arm with force. Luna beginning to scream, her body thrashing. Elena moving swiftly, positioning herself with clear technique, executing the containment embrace that any therapist would recognize as correct. The crying gradually subsiding, the girl calming. There was no accident here. There was knowledge, method, care. Alex felt something churn within him. It was not merely embarrassment. It was an acute realization of his own failure. Not as a father who erred through ignorance, but as a man who had chosen to overlook what lay plainly before him. He opened the digital folder shared by Luna's therapist, something he rarely did. The reports were all there, organized by date. He began to read. The recommendations were unequivocal. Before social gatherings, Luna required preparation, activities to help her feel her own body, movement routines, time in calm environments. During sensory overload, the protocol stipulated safe containment, reduction of stimuli, and remaining in a controlled space. Everything Elena had done was described there, in technical yet comprehensible language. These were not sophisticated terms. They were objective guidelines, lists of preferences and triggers to be avoided. It was then that Alex noted something disquieting. Over the past 2 months, several of Luna's sessions had been canceled. He moved his fingers across the screen, enlarging the reminders. In red, annotations highlighted that Victoria had requested a reduction in the schedule to avoid tiring Luna for social engagements. The words were there, recorded by the therapist herself, who had questioned the decision, but was informed that the family knew what was best. Alex closed the tablet. He rested his forehead in his hands. The room was silent, only the hum of the air conditioning filling the space. He perceived that he required answers, not the answers Victoria would provide, replete with justifications and social strategies. He needed to hear Elena. He ascended to the second floor. He knocked on the study door before entering. Elena was seated on the floor beside the sofa, observing Luna, who slept soundly, her teddy bear clutched to her chest. The corner lamp cast gentle shadows upon the wall. Everything within the room exuded an aura of calm, control, and safety. "May I speak with you?" Alex inquired softly. Elena rose slowly, confirmed Luna's continued slumber, and joined him in the corridor. She closed the door with deliberate care. "I need to understand what transpired downstairs," Alex stated. "Why did you act as you did?" The embrace, the containment. Elena did not falter, because that was precisely what Luna required at that moment. She was experiencing sensory overload. The cacophony, the incessant movement, the throng of people, all these elements plunged her into a state of panic. Physical containment assists in reorganizing the nervous system. It is standard protocol. "Protocol," Alex echoed. "Where did you acquire this knowledge?" "At the Hope and Thrive community center where I volunteered, and with my brother Matteo." It was then that Alex learned of Matteo. Elena recounted the story there, in the dimly lit corridor, her words measured yet imbued with honesty. Mateo was 15, had Down syndrome, and resided with her and their grandmother in Little Village. When he was younger, their family had managed to maintain his therapies through state programs and a social welfare initiative. However, budget cuts ensued, leading to extensive waiting periods and frequent changes in therapists. At one juncture, they endured 6 months without any services. Mateo consequently lost significant progress. He reverted to experiencing crises and regressing in skills he had painstakingly acquired. It was the most challenging period of our lives, Elena stated, her voice hushed. My grandmother would weep every night. I worked 2 shifts, yet the funds were never sufficient to afford a private therapist. When we eventually managed to resume his sessions, Mateo was compelled to restart from scratch on numerous fronts. Alex listened in silence. A weighty sensation settled in his chest, a confluence of shame and belated comprehension. This is why you acted as you did today. Yes, I recognize the indicators. I discern when a child begins to regress. Elena took a measured breath. Luna had been more sensitive in recent weeks. I inquired with her therapist, who mentioned the cancellation of some sessions. I did not comprehend the reason, but I observed the outcome. And you intervened? Elena cast her gaze downward. I compensated for supplementary stimulation hours with a therapist I know from the community center. I refrained from documenting it in the household records, fearing it would appear intrusive. I was apprehensive of losing my position. However, I could not idly stand by and witness Luna's regression. The confession hung suspended in the air. Alex required several moments to fully process the profound implications of her gesture. This woman, who earned a modest wage and supported her grandmother and brother, had personally defrayed expenses to ensure his daughter received the rudimentary continuity of therapy she needed. Meanwhile, he, with his accumulated fortune, had effectively outsourced his daughter's care to a fiancé who molded Luna's schedule to suit social convenience. How much did you spend? Alex inquired. It is of no consequence. It is of consequence. How much? Elena hesitated. $250. 2 sessions. Alex pulled his wallet, peeling off a stack of crisp $100 bills. Take it, and thank you. Elena did not take them. I didn't do it for money. I know. That's why I'm offering. You returned something I hadn't even realized I'd lost. He left the bills on the windowsill. Now I must ascertain why my daughter's schedule was curtailed. The answer, he was certain, lay within the Sterling Family Foundation's emails and accounts. As chairman, Alex possessed full access, and now, unequivocal motivation to seek. Alex spent Monday sequestered in his Michigan Avenue office. He instructed the foundation's CFO, Carlos, to compile all reports, contracts, and correspondence from the past 3 months. The official pretext: an audit before Victoria's Grand Charity Gala at the Peninsula, Chicago. Yet, he sought an anomaly he couldn't name, but felt as mounting pressure. Initial documents revealed no discernible irregularities. Payments to vendors, transfers to social programs, service reports. All appeared correct and meticulously organized. Yet Alex, with years of keen financial acumen, knew when figures behaved uncharacteristically, when minor inconsistencies presaged larger complications. It was a sequence of internal emails that yielded the first salient clue. Victoria had corresponded with staff discussing the gala, augmenting advertising, engaging a renowned photographer, securing prominent society page coverage. Nothing appeared amiss. Yet in one email, she suggested temporarily streamlining services for certain children to reallocate funds that would be subsequently offset by event donors. Alex reread the sentence thrice, indignation constricting his throat. He telephoned the CFO. Carlos, clarify something. Why precisely did we curtail services this month? From the other end, a strained silence ensued. "It was Victoria's directive, Mr. Sterling. She stated you had personally concurred." "I had concurred with nothing of the sort," Alex asserted, voice tight. "But she maintained it was purely temporary," Carlos ventured. "That post-gala, we would possess augmented resources." Alex disconnected the call. He accessed the Foundation's expenditure spreadsheet. The figures starkly corroborated his suspicions. Over 2 months, a 40% reduction hit the child inclusion program he helped establish. In stark contrast, gala expenses had tripled. A luxury hotel venue, a premium event management company, bespoke decor, an extravagant open bar. He picked up the phone again. This time, he called his own event planning company. He requested a copy of the contract. He discovered the company belonged to a friend of Victoria, who charged double the market rate. The commission, naturally, went to the owner. Victoria did not gain direct monetary profit, but she acquired favors, access, and social capital. All of it funded by resources intended for children like Luna. Alex felt a physical nausea. He stood, walked to the window, and opened it. The warm Chicago air entered, heavy with the scent of exhaust and restaurant fare. Below, the city continued its indifferent motion, each person tending to their own survival. And there, on the 23rd floor, he needed to decide what to do. Alex's decision was methodical. There would be no explosive confrontation or hasty public accusations. He would work with evidence, documents, and proper procedures. He asked the company's lawyer to analyze the Foundation's contracts. He requested an independent audit, and he began to reorganize Luna's schedule, reinstating the therapeutic sessions that had been canceled. Elena was officially promoted to primary caregiver. Alex called her for a formal conversation in his office, offering a contract with a dignified salary, full registration, and benefits. She accepted with tear-filled eyes, but without effusiveness. She simply thanked him with the same respectful seriousness as always. Victoria, during these days, was rarely home. She was preoccupied with the final gala preparations, meetings with decorators and vendors, and speech rehearsals. She did not notice the change in Alex's demeanor, or perhaps chose not to. For her, everything was proceeding as planned. The gala was scheduled for a Friday, at the Peninsula Chicago, one of the city's most exclusive hotels. The local press had confirmed their presence, as had businessmen, politicians, and opinion shapers. Victoria had transformed it into the event of the year. Magazines like Chicago Social were already publishing advance features with photos of her in various gowns, speaking about philanthropy and social responsibility. Elena suggested Luna not be exposed to the event. "It's too much noise, too many people, too much light. It will be difficult for her," Alex partially agreed. He arranged for a reserved room at the hotel, adjacent to the main ballroom. A smaller environment, soft lighting, no loud music. Luna could stay there with Elena, close but protected. He formalized everything in writing, sent instructions to the hotel staff, ensuring trained personnel would be on standby. On the night of the event, Alex wore a tuxedo. Luna wore a light blue dress, comfortable flats. In the main ballroom, Victoria shone. A long red gown, impeccable makeup, a practiced smile. She received congratulations, posed for photographs, and directed donors to the registration table where they pledged generous contributions. It was then that her press agent suggested a family photograph. "It would be lovely to have the girl on stage. It humanizes the cause. People will adore it." Victoria hesitated for merely a second. Then she consented. After all, Luna was fine, wasn't she? And the photograph would secure magazine covers. Elena was crouched beside Luna, assisting her in fitting the final puzzle pieces, when Victoria entered the private chamber. "Come, darling," she beckoned to the girl, extending her hand. "Let's take a quick picture." Luna gazed at Elena, bewildered. She disliked abrupt deviations from her routine. Elena discerned the tension in the girl's posture, her shoulders stiffening. "Perhaps it would be best to leave her here," she gently proposed. Victoria disregarded the counsel. "It's merely a photograph. It won't take any time at all." She took Luna's hand and led her from the chamber. The corridor teemed with people, waiters bearing trays, photographers adjusting their equipment. Luna pressed her fingers against her ears, striving to block the din. Victoria pulled her with haste, navigating through the throng until they reached the stage erected at the front of the ballroom. The lights were piercing. Camera flashes erupted as they ascended. Luna squeezed her eyes shut, her entire body rigidifying. Victoria smiled for the cameras, holding her daughter close in a calculated pose. The photographers requested them to look right, then left, to smile more broadly. Luna began to tremble. Elena arrived in a rush. She had followed the pair as soon as she perceived the unfolding situation. Alex was also in the ballroom, conversing with an investor, when he observed the commotion. He saw Luna on the stage, her face ashen, her eyes wide with apprehension, and he witnessed the onset of the crisis. Luna began to shriek. It was not a tantrum's wail, but a pure shriek of panic, a piercing sound that cleaved through the entire ballroom. Conversations ceased. All gazes turned. Victoria attempted to restrain her, but the girl struggled, pushing, attempting to descend from the stage. The flashes persisted, now capturing something profoundly different from their planned tableau. Elena ascended the stage. She did not seek permission. She simply enveloped Luna in the containment embrace, that same embrace which had proven effective at the brunch. She spoke softly into the girl's ear, words no one else could discern. Luna continued to weep, yet her body began to gradually relax. Elena guided her from the stage, traversed the ballroom beneath the astonished gazes of the guests, and returned to the private chamber. Victoria remained there, solitary on the stage, her smile still frozen upon her countenance. The photographers lowered their cameras. A palpable, awkward silence permeated the ballroom. "My daughter possesses specific needs that I, as her father, have not always adequately honored. This event was organized to benefit children such as her. However, I realized belatedly that our assistance is often more profound when we simply heed what they endeavor to communicate." Victoria regarded him with widened eyes. He continued, "The Sterling Family Foundation will undergo comprehensive revisions in the coming months. We shall ensure that its resources are directed precisely where needed, toward the children, their therapies, and the families in need. This will be achieved with unyielding transparency, not through lavish events that cater more to our vanity than to the actual cause." The address lasted fewer than 3 minutes, yet it irrevocably changed everything. Victoria descended the stage wordlessly, traversed the ballroom, and vanished into the women's restroom. A few guests offered discreet applause. Others exchanged uneasy glances. Alex relinquished the microphone to the master of ceremonies and proceeded directly to the reserved antechamber. There, Luna rested in Elena's embrace, still faintly whimpering, but discernibly more placid. Alex knelt before them. "I am sorry," he murmured, his gaze fixed upon his daughter. "I should have prevented this." Luna offered no reply, merely clutching her teddy bear more tightly to her chest. Yet, Elena inclined her head in silent acknowledgement that a profound shift had occurred. In the ensuing days, Alex acted with the same formidable efficiency of his business acumen. He convened an extraordinary meeting of the Foundation's board, presented irrefutable evidence of financial improprieties, and demanded the restitution of diverted funds. Victoria, to avert public scandal, consented to return a portion of the monies and receded from the administration. The engagement was dissolved during a concise, private discussion, wherein Alex simply articulated his inability to trust her further. Victoria attempted to negotiate, mentioning second chances, misunderstandings, and societal pressures. However, Alex no longer listened. He had witnessed enough. The woman he envisioned sharing his life with was capable of prioritizing superficial appearances over a child's well-being. There would be no turning back. The mansion in Lincoln Park grew noticeably quieter after Victoria's departure. Alex assumed full control of Luna's routine. He began participating in therapist meetings, reviewing reports, and being present for the small victories he had once delegated. He discerned that his daughter adored music, but only at low volume, that she relished swimming, yet feared water on her face, that she would laugh when he used funny voices reading bedtime stories. Elena became a constant presence, not just as an employee, but as a secure anchor for Luna. Luna learned to trust her, to seek her embrace when the world grew too large, and Elena reciprocated with boundless patience, precisely as she did with Mateo. Alex Sterling offered Elena Ramirez a scholarship for further professional development. She accepted, enrolling in a pedagogy program with a specialization in inclusive education. On Thursday afternoons, when Elena attended her classes, a different caregiver would assist, but Luna consistently inquired about Elena's return. The Sterling Family Foundation underwent a comprehensive audit. Beyond the irregularities associated with the gala, additional minor deviations, accumulated over several years, were uncovered. While not criminal in nature, these findings sufficiently indicated lax oversight and inverted priorities. Alex Sterling initiated a complete restructuring, bringing in managers with substantial experience in the nonprofit sector. He redefined objectives, prioritizing service metrics over fundraising targets, and established full transparency by opening the Foundation's financial records to external scrutiny. The most profound transformation occurred within Sterling Logistics Solutions itself. Alex Sterling inaugurated an internal inclusion program, employing individuals with disabilities across various departments. This initiative began modestly, with 3 positions within the East Side Distribution Center. He engaged specialized consultants, implemented reasonable accommodations for job roles, and provided comprehensive training to managers, equipping them to address the unique needs of each employee. The outcomes astonished even the most skeptical observers. Productivity, contrary to some predictions, did not diminish. In certain instances, it actually improved. The newly hired employee. Moreover, the overall atmosphere within the company markedly enhanced. Individuals began to perceive themselves not merely as cogs in a mechanism, but as integral components of a more expansive endeavor, imbued with a purpose extending beyond mere financial gain. Alex Sterling recognized that his actions were not inherently heroic. He was merely fulfilling an obligation that had always, intrinsically, been his. Yet, witnessing the tangible results of these efforts served as a potent and sustained motivation. Luna Sterling, too, underwent a significant transformation. With consistent therapies, a predictable routine, and a father who was now unequivocally present, she achieved remarkable progress. She began articulating complete sentences, a development previously only observed sporadically. She learned to solicit assistance when required and to assertively decline what caused her discomfort. These modest triumphs, in Alex Sterling's estimation, held more intrinsic value than any multi-million-dollar contract he had ever brokered. One Saturday afternoon, 3 months subsequent to the gala, Alex Sterling extended an invitation to Elena Ramirez to bring her grandmother and brother to lunch at his residence. It was a simple gesture, yet profoundly imbued with significance. Elena accepted, her response marked by a contained smile. They arrived precisely at noon. Elena's grandmother, a woman with silver hair and hands calloused by a lifetime of toil, greeted Alex Sterling with respectful diffidence. Mateo, 15 years old, with luminous eyes and a broad smile, entered with a tentative curiosity. Luna instantly recognized him as a kindred spirit, someone who, like her, perceived the world through a distinct lens. The two settled onto the living room floor and commenced playing with building blocks, requiring no formal introductions. Alex Sterling observed the scene from the sofa. He watched Elena converse softly with her brother, correct a gesture, commend an achievement. He saw her grandmother look around with an expression of disbelief at being there, in that expansive Lincoln Park mansion, having lunch with one of Chicago's wealthiest men. And he saw Luna, his daughter, laugh aloud as Mateo deliberately toppled an unstable tower. "Thank you for coming," Alex said to Elena. "Thank you for inviting us." She adjusted the tablecloth on the table where the household staff had placed the platters. Mateo was excited all week. Luna was too. They lunched together. They discussed simple things: Chicago traffic, the relentless heat, Elena's plans for her course. Her grandmother recounted stories from Rockford, Illinois, of raising her grandchildren alone after her daughter had passed away. Alex listened with genuine attention, asking questions, truly interested. After lunch, while the children played in the garden under the staff supervision, Alex called Elena to his office. There was something he needed to articulate. "I wanted to thank you," Alex began, choosing his words with care. "Not just for what you've done for Luna, but for showing me where I was fundamentally mistaken." Elena did not respond immediately. She simply waited for him to continue. "I spent years believing that being a good father meant paying for the best therapies, hiring the most skilled professionals, ensuring my daughter had everything money could procure. And I thought that was sufficient." He paused, taking a deep breath. "But you demonstrated to me that it isn't. That sometimes the most impactful thing we can do is simply be present, to embrace when needed, to observe, to listen." Elena nodded slowly. "You are learning, and Luna senses that. Do you believe she can forgive me for all the years I wasn't truly present? I believe children do not harbor resentment in the way adults do. They only wish to know if you are here now." Alex smiled for the first time in weeks. It was a small, weary, yet genuine smile. "I am, and I shall continue to be." They returned to the garden. The children had fashioned a circuit with chairs and cushions, running around laughing boisterously. Elena's grandmother observed from the shade of a mature tree, her hands in her lap, her expression serene. Alex sat on the grass beside Elena. They remained there in comfortable silence, merely observing. There was no longer any necessity for words. Everything that required expression had already been conveyed through actions, choices, and tangible transformations. Luna stumbled, falling to her knees on the grass. Alex instinctively rose, prepared to assist her. But the girl simply stood on her own, wiped her hands on her clothes, and resumed running. Mateo waited her a few yards ahead, laughing. "She is stronger," Elena observed. "Indeed." Alex resettled himself. "Thanks to you. No, thanks to your decision to change." And it was true. The entire narrative, which had commenced with an investor brunch designed to impress, culminated there, on an unassuming Chicago summer Saturday, with two children at play in the garden while the adults learned, belatedly yet sincerely, what truly held significance. It was not the grand societal events nor the staged magazine photographs. It was not the meticulously rehearsed speeches nor the ostentatious charitable donations. It was, rather, the genuine embrace offered at the opportune moment, the unwavering, steadfast presence, the daily, deliberate choice to prioritize one's cherished loved ones above all other considerations. Alex Sterling did not transmute into an entirely distinct individual. He persisted as a demanding executive, his focus remaining keenly on financial metrics and corporate outcomes. However, he gradually comprehended the necessity of revising his calendars to accommodate Luna's specific needs, to unequivocally decline commitments that conflicted with her scheduled therapies, and to meticulously organize family dinners that invariably respected his daughter's profound comfort. These seemingly minor adjustments, when collectively accumulated, precipitated an enormous transformative difference. Elena Ramirez continued her dedicated work within the Sterling household, yet now possessing a clear, influential voice. She offered well-considered opinions regarding new hires, proactively suggested nuanced improvements to the established daily routine, and thereby became a vital, indispensable bridge between the family and the specialized professionals attending to Luna. She began bringing Mateo for consistent, regular visits, and the two children subsequently forged an indissoluble bond of friendship, each child profoundly learning from the other's distinctly unique approach. The Sterling Family Foundation experienced a profound resurgence. This was achieved not through ostentatious, public-facing galas, but by undertaking serious, transparent, and genuinely focused work, directly aiding those who truly required assistance. The beneficiary families began to receive not merely essential therapeutic interventions, but truly comprehensive support, reliable transportation, specialized adaptive materials, and crucial support groups. And the philanthropic program expanded significantly, not primarily due to favorable public relations or widespread publicity, but rather because of its demonstrable and undeniable efficacy. Victoria Hayes entirely vanished from the esteemed social echelons she had so meticulously and assiduously cultivated. She subsequently relocated, earnestly attempting to orchestrate a fresh start for herself. Society magazines promptly ceased featuring her meticulously curated photographs. Invitations to exclusive, high-profile events abruptly end. Her entire identity had been painstakingly constructed solely upon ephemeral, superficial appearances, and consequently, when these appearances irrevocably crumbled, no substantial, enduring foundation remained beneath. Many years subsequently, when Luna joyfully celebrated her 12th birthday, Alex thoughtfully organized a modest, intimate party at their residence. He graciously extended invitations solely to immediate family members and her cherished companions from the specialized educational institution she attended. The gathering featured a delightful chocolate cake, vibrant, colorful balloons, and soothing, low-volume music. Luna, with Mateo's gentle assistance, then delightedly extinguished the candles. Mateo himself was now 18 years of age and diligently pursuing a technical degree in the field of information technology. Elena was unequivocally present, of course. She served no longer in the capacity of an employee, but rather as an integral and cherished member of the Saint. Alex had diligently formalized this new arrangement in every conceivable manner. He had progressively elevated her remuneration until it aligned with that of a seasoned professional therapist, fully funded her comprehensive college education, and notably included both her and her family within the company's generous health benefits plan. After the assembled guests had respectfully departed, and Luna, thoroughly exhausted, yet undeniably content, had fallen into a peaceful slumber, Alex and Elena lingered thoughtfully in the quiet kitchen, partaking of warm coffee. Have you ever genuinely contemplated how profoundly disparate things would be had you not offered that crucial embrace to her on that specific day? Alex earnestly inquired. Elena responded with a gentle, knowing smile. I have indeed. Not, however, for my own benefit, but rather for yours. I firmly believe that you necessitated precisely that profound jolt of realization. I needed to. He took a sip of his now cold coffee. Sometimes we need someone to do what is right, to realize we were doing it wrong. And now? Now I know that the embrace you gave Luna that day didn't just change her life, it changed mine too. Elena rested her hand on his shoulder for a second, a small gesture, yet profound in meaning. Then she stood, washed the cups, and bid farewell. Alex remained seated there, in the quiet kitchen, listening to the distant hum of Chicago through the half-open window. The city continued its relentless pace, cars honking, sirens in the distance, life following its chaotic course. But there, in that house that once felt like an office, was finally something no money could buy, a true home, built upon timely embraces and choices made out of love, not for appearances. And this, Alex had realized late, but realized well, was worth more than all the perfect reports and million-dollar contracts he had signed in his entire life.